Hello, welcome to TechWeb Dots. This is another part of comparison series, and in this session we will discuss what is the difference between ASP.NET WebForm and ASP.NET MVC5. Okay, so let's start without wasting time. So in this session we will discuss what is WebForm architecture, lifecycle and its advantages, and MVC architecture, lifecycle and its advantages, what is common in WebForm and MVC architecture, and what is the difference between MVC and WebForm. Okay, so there are a few recommendations: ASP.NET Framework versus ASP.NET Core, and what is ASP.NET Blazor. So all these links are available in the description of this video. So we will discuss WebForm architecture. If you are a traditional web developer, then you are already aware about this. If you are not, let me explain. When a browser issues a request to the application, then it goes to IIS. From IIS it goes to ASP.NET HTTP runtime. Request is mapped with page HTTP handler. Okay, then page handler request goes to page classes and page lifecycle. Okay, so before postback event perform, page lifecycle works in that all the initialization task and init task performed, and when the postback happen, then the remaining task of page lifecycle perform and updation of control performs. Okay, if you want to discuss in detail WebForm architecture, then I will upload a video very soon on this, so please stay tuned with me. So this is the overview overall page lifecycle. Especially it goes through all the event, or you can say it is event based lifecycle. Okay, and postback event are there, so don't worry if it is not clear. Let me move next. With the advantages, I will help you to explain how it really works and what exactly it is. So it is easy and rapid application development model for developers coming from Windows Form development. Okay, Windows Form development means we are talking about a Windows application. Okay, so development support state gives the illusion that a web application is aware of what the user has been doing, similar to the Windows application, in that we use wizard. In this we create application step by step, means after one screen, second screen is specified. Okay, so WebForm does a great job, a lot of that complexity from the developer. So it is really helpful in rapid application development, the ability to just jump in and start delivering web forms. The web forms model probably has a less of a learning curve to less experienced developer as well. In the end, it comes down to the level of expertise of the developer and what they are comfortable with, and we can use this ASP.NET Web Form learn as you go model. Okay, you can learn it and side by side develop it as well. So there is a larger control toolbox is also there, means you don't need to write any code to develop a controls. Okay, so everything is available under toolbox. ASP.NET Web Form offer a much greater and more robust toolbox, or you can say web controls with solid data binding, whereas MVC offers more primitive control set relying more on rich client-side controls via jQuery or JavaScript. Master pages support is there, ASP.NET identity, state management, security, event-driven, separate UI, drag and drop interface for controls, and it is mature enough, means there's a large community already worked on this, and everything that you can think about for a web application you can develop with WebForm. Okay, so let's move next. So this is the MVC architecture I have already discussed in MVC5 architecture session, but for the overview, let me explain once again. So when a request is issued to IIS, it goes through ASP.NET HTTP runtime, then it goes through URL router that goes to the request mapped with MVC HTTP handler. Then controller receives the request and work on that. It select what view should be presented to the user and what model it should select. For strongly typed views, model reference can be directly mentioned in the views as well. Okay, so controller handles everything how application will behave. Okay, so it takes the data from model and hand it over to the view as well. If those things are not clear, stay tuned with me. I will discuss all those features as we progress through the course of MVC5. Model is the one who talks to the data access layer and takes the data and hand it over to the view, or you can say through controller data reach to the view. Okay, stay tuned with me. Okay, so Let's have a look on the MVC5 lifecycle as well. On a high level note, you can see application when we send a request, HTTP application processing pipeline is started and it checks the routing. Then MVC handler work started here, and HTTP application processing pipeline. You can see first controller action method is maintained. Then it checks for authentication and authorization, and if it has successfully authenticated, then it goes for model binding and action method invocation, means which action method will be called, and at the end it is return the result execution with the view or a string or JSON data. Okay, and then the response HTML goes back to browser. Okay, so there are several advantages of MVC over web form. So it enables control over the render HTML, means you know what HTML going to render on the client browser, because in ASP.NET Web Form there are lots of extra unnecessary HTML is rendered. That's why ASP.NET Web Form pages are heavy. Provides a clean separation of concern, means every part has its own responsibility. Model, view and controller, those are separated. Okay, it enables test driven development, yes. Easy integration with JavaScript, yes. Following the design of stateless nature of the web, and RESTful URLs that enables search engine optimization as well. No view state and no postback events are there like we have in ASP.NET Web Form. Proper AJAX and JSON result, no partial page postbacks are there. No remaining of the HTML IDs, means we don't need to rename the HTML IDs like we do in ASP.NET Web Forms. Clean HTML, no bloat, and having a decent shot of rendering XHTML or standard compliant pages. It works for web applications. It works well for web applications that are supported by large team of developers. Please, this point is very important. It works well for web applications that are supported by large team of developers. Like in case you don't have a large team of developers and you want to deliver something on immediate basis in very less time, then definitely ASP.NET Web Form will be preferable, or it will depend on the complexity of the application and web designer. So what is common in WebForm and MVC? ASP.NET Web Form and MVC are two web frameworks developed by Microsoft. They are both good choice. Each of these web frameworks offer advantages and disadvantages, some of which we need to consider when developing a web application. Authentication, authorization, configuration, and compilation deployment are the features that are shared between these two frameworks. These two are common for both of them. Let's see what are the differences. So separation of concern, from a technical standpoint, the organization of code within MVC is very clean, organized, granular, making it easier for web application to scale in terms of functionality. Integration with client-side tools, more than ever web applications are increasing as rich. MVC integrates with such toolkits such as jQuery with greater ease, more seamless than in web form. MVC not very easy to learn, so this is one of the drawback as well. It's not like that as you implement you will learn everything, so it takes time. Search engine optimization, or you can say the SEO friendly, stateless URL are more friendly to search engines. That is, if we say myapplication.com users 1 or relative user with ID 1 versus MVC web application users get user.aspx ID passed in session. So this is the difference between URLs of both MVC and ASP.NET Web Form. So MVC is stateless. This removes the headache of the user who open multiple web browsers from the same window, session collision. Okay, so MVC adhere to stateless web protocol rather than battling against it. So it works well with developers who need high degree of controls. Developer have full control over the generated HTML. Many controls in ASP.NET Web Form automatically generated much of the raw HTML, and you see when a page is rendered. With MVC, it lends itself better towards having complete control with what is rendered, and there are no surprises. MVC generated HTML forms typically are much smaller than a web form, which can be equated to a performance booster. Yes, a one page is heavy and one page is very light, so it makes a difference, something to seriously consider. So it is test driven as well. You can more easily create tests for the websites. At the end of this session, I hope I have given a brief overview between MVC and WebForms and how they are different. If I missed something, please leave a comment for that. Thanks for watching. If you have any question, please leave a comment. I will reply on that as soon as possible. In our next session, we will discuss the comparison between MVC and MVP. Okay, thanks for watching. Have a good day.